At 6:30, we have the game I'm actually going to. Let's freaking go. Number 22, Auburn, traveling to number 10, Penn State. Top 25 game. Penn State's favored by 6 points in this game on ABC. I'm going to be going to this one live. Let's go. It's going to be it's going to be the whiteout. So not only is Auburn having to travel to Penn State, you have to participate in quite possibly the best atmosphere in college football. For the home team, for the away team, it is an absolute nightmare in the whiteout. The stadium is going to be so loud against Auburn. This is tough. This is a tough one if you're a Tigers fan. Traveling up to Penn State. Now, again, Brian Harsin, undefeated. They absolutely dominated the two teams they played. But let's look at the two teams they played. They've played Akron and Alabama State. Not exactly top-tier competition. It's a big jump to go to number 10 Penn State. Number 10 Penn State, not only did they destroy Ball State last week, they coming off a huge win against Wisconsin, right? They're not looking ahead because next week it's Villanova. You're not even going to have that thing to hope for, right? So Penn State's not looking ahead of you guys for Villanova. They're 100% focusing on you. On defense, you have, in my opinion, one of the best defenses in the entire thing. You have a lockdown corner in Tariq Castro-Fields, who I think should go first 3 rounds from the way he's played this year. You have Jaquan Brisker, who I think should be very much a top 5 round pick at the very least. Jaquan Brisker's looked amazing. Joey Porter Jr.'s looked phenomenal. Not to mention the linebacker core has been amazing. You do lose one of your, backup safeties, I think, to a targeting call in the first half since he got kicked out of the second half in Ball State. So you do lose him for the first half of this game. And he's a nice depth piece to have, but again, not a starter, so it's not a huge deal. Defensive line has looked good. I don't know if there's a piece of weakness, but the biggest piece of weakness, at least in my opinion, on the Penn State is defensive tackle. I think that's the biggest weakness on this team. But outside of that, I think this is a rock-solid Penn State team defensively. Offensively, I'm having a little bit of issue with them. The offensive line has actually looked way better than... As Penn State watching it, I have not seen an offensive line for Penn State look this good ever. I've never seen it happen before. Now, the problem is with that, Sean Clifford is not Trace McSorley. And the fact is I started watching the first quarterback I watched at Penn State was Trace McSorley, and I was a little bit spoiled. Sean Clifford's not Trace McSorley, but he's an okay quarterback, right? He's never going to kill you. He does have he can hit a deep ball. The real thing, if you're Auburn, you got to watch out for is Jahan Dotson is a killer receiver. He absolutely can murder you through the air, so you got to watch out for him. And then the other players you got to look out for is Brenton Strange. I feel like the thing is, with tight end with Penn State, tight ends at Penn State produce. You look at the past 3. Last one was at Penn State, second-round pick, Pat Fryermuth. Last one, the one before that was Mike Gesicki, second-round pick, Dolphins. And then you look at the one before that was Jesse James, who's had a long career in the NFL. It is consistent tight end production. And Brenton Strange hasn't showed that to me yet, but it's quite possible he does here. Brenton Strange is a guy that I think could develop into a very solid tight end. Now, if you want to win this game and you're Auburn, you got to focus on Jahan Dotson. And if you're Auburn, you got to try and lock him down, and then you have to make the other players beat them. So that for this game, if you're Penn State, you got to hope Parker Washington steps up. You got to hope Keandre Lambert-Smith steps up as a number 3 receiver. You have to hope Noah Cain is really good on the ground. Okay, so I'm really interested to see Noah Cain, Devin Ford, and there's a third one that I'm not remembering, how they use that rotation, because Noah Brown and Kayvon, I think it was Kayvon Lee, they shared about equal snaps last week. But in the Wisconsin game, it was almost all Noah Cain. So I think Noah Cain's better through the air, and I think Kayvon Lee is better on the ground. So that's going to be interesting. I really love Penn State here. I think the Nittany Lions are obviously they're a top 10 team. I think they're a top 8, top 7 team right now, and I think they have room to get better on offense. Again, this is only their offensive coordinator's 3rd game as a Penn State offensive coordinator. The offense is still getting into the sync. This could be a playoff team if we're looking at it logistically. Give me Penn State with the win here. I think they're going to crush Auburn.